Hey everyone. Welcome to Dangerous Werewolf. Are you brave enough to step into the perilous world of werewolves with me? Here in Construction, we'll uncover the secrets, face the fears, and explore the thrilling and dangerous aspects of these mythical creatures. So hold on tight and let's start this wild adventure together. Chapter 27, Amber. To say that I was surprised when Alex and I found out that Sierra and Jack were mates would be a complete understatement. I was shocked, but I was also happy that she wouldn't be trying to get with Alex anymore. Later that evening I was having dinner with my parents and Alex and his parents were coming. So I really want to look good. I looked back in the mirror and put on my diamond earrings that dangled down. I decided to leave my hair down and have it curled at the bottom. And I put on a plain black dress that is strapless and put on my silver heels. I'm not a big heel person, but I usually only wear them when it's a special occasion. And when I do wear them, they aren't very big. The tallest pair of heels I have are only like 2 inches. I know some girls who wear 6-inch high heels. Crazy. Amber. My mom called as she opened my bedroom door. In the bathroom. I said, fixing one of my earrings. You look gorgeous. My mom gushed, looking at me. I turned to face her and looked down at my dress. Really? I asked, smiling. Of course. And I'm not just saying that to you because you're my daughter. I laughed. Good. I was going for that. Come on. Dad is downstairs with everyone and Alex and his parents should be here soon. My mom said, walking out of my bathroom. I sighed and looked back in the mirror. Amber. Jackie said worriedly. What? I asked, concerned. How do I put this without scaring you? Just tell me. I said, getting worried myself. Oh, well, you see, Amber. Your heat is coming. I froze. Can you repeat that? Your heat is coming soon. I don't know when, but it looks like it's coming on pretty fast. You have got to be kidding me. I groaned as I rested my hands on the bathroom sink. Oh, I'm not. I heard her sigh. When is it going to come? I asked, scared to hear the answer. I don't know. This is just great. We probably shouldn't go down there. I mentally waved her off. I'll be fine. Nothing is going to happen. I said and cut the connection off. I walked downstairs and just as I entered the living room, there was a knock on the door. Got it. I called out. I opened the door and my jaw instantly dropped. Alex was standing there with black shades on, a gray V-neck shirt, with black jeans and white supras. His hair was slightly messy, but it looked really good on him. And holy shit, did he look fine. I stepped aside so Alex could come in. He took his shades off and put them on top of his head and turned to face me. He gave me his signature smirk. Hey love, you might want to close your mouth when you're done checking me out. I snapped out of it and gave him a scowl. PFTU, Ray delusional. I was so not checking you out. He chuckled and wrapped his arms around me. Of course you weren't. I hit his arm and got out of his grasp. Let's just go to dinner. I mumbled. He laughed again. All right. My parents will be along shortly. They said to start without them. Sounds good. I couldn't help but let a small smile through. So Alex, my dad said, taking a sip of his drink. Enjoy being a wolf. It's been fun. I was a little freaked out at first. I'll admit. But it's had a lot of perks that have helped make it easy. My dad chuckled along with everyone else. I'm glad. What do you like most about it? Alex thought about it for a moment. Probably either the speed or the strength. I agree, although I think I like the speed part better. I said, smiling. Why, my dad's bait asked. Well, I could outrun everyone. I smiled as I took a bite out of my steak. Of course. Thomas laughed, shaking his head. What did you expect? My mom joined in laughing. This is how dinner went. Everyone cracking jokes and laughing at each other. Amber, Jackie yelled. What? I asked, trying to ease up from laughing too hard at one of Thomas's jokes. Your heat. That killed my laughter right away. What about it? I asked slowly. It's coming. What? I screamed in my head. I can't hold it back any longer. I'm sorry, she said. I felt a sudden and unfamiliar wave of heat go through my body. Shit. Oh, Jackie, I said, trailing off. We need to leave. Like, now, Jackie growled. I would love to stay and finish talking to you guys, I said, standing up and pushing my chair in. But I really have to go. Honey, why are you leaving? My dad asked, confused. I forgot I had to do something. I lied. Amber, my dad warned. Mom, my heat is coming. Help. I pleaded and looked at her. She nodded. Oh, it's okay, dear. I asked her to do something for me earlier. My mom lied, smiling. My dad eyed me suspiciously. Okay. I took a step and I dropped. It felt like my body was on fire. I started swearing loud and hard. My dad ran over to me and held me up. Amber, are you okay? He asked worriedly. I turned to look at Alex, who was starting to get up. I could see his nostrils flare for just a split second before the familiar glow of his wolf's eyes broke through. Oh, hello, Xavier. Mine, he growled. He stood up so fast that his chair fell backward and he ran towards me. He ripped me out of my father's grasp and put his face in my neck and breathed in my scent. My dad growled at him. But once Xavier growled back. He looked shocked. Alex held onto me tighter and glared at all the males in the room. Mine. Okay then, my mom said, coming forward. We need to get you upstairs. Xavier, maybe Alex too. Growled as my mom went to go grab my hand. Mine. My mom sighed. I am her mother. Now get her ass upstairs. Xavier nodded and picked me up bridal style. I looked up at him and his eyes were still glowing. Oh, Xavier, I asked a bit carefully. I knew I could trust him, but I was a bit hesitant towards his reactions at that moment. I didn't want to set him off and cause anyone to get hurt. I knew I was in the clear, but anyone else was an entirely different matter. He looked down at me, smiling. Hello, Amber. That felt different. Not in a bad way either. I could feel a shiver run up my spine. I clung to him tighter. Something about the way he said my name felt like euphoria. As we made it to the stairs, a couple male wolves came into the living room. And since we were in the pack house, all the wolves could come in when they please, which wasn't very good at the present moment. Xavier must have seen them because he stopped and put me down before placing me behind him. Mine. Xavier growled at the men. The men stopped stiffing the air and turned to look at me. One took a step forward but froze once he heard Xavier's death-curling growl. I think my ovaries just died. Jackie drooled. Oh my goddess, this she-wolf. I didn't even have time to retaliate before he grabbed my hand and we ran up to my room. Once we got in, he gently pushed me in my room and locked my door. Xavier faced me and leaned back against my door with his arms crossed. And his eyes slowly went back to normal, showing me that Alex was back. Alex stared at me, lust flaming in his eyes. I felt another wave of go through my body at the sight, and all sane thoughts seemed to evaporate. Goddamn. Alex, I stared at her, feeling my wolf come through even more than ever. But Xavier wasn't pushing me around at this point. It was like we were running side by side with the same goal in mind. I could feel his power, except that I couldn't find myself to really care at that moment. The female in front of me had both of our attention, with the door closed, and the threat of any male seeing my mate gone. I felt myself relax. Luckily, Xavier was calm enough to let me take back control. Alex, Amber asked carefully, looking at me. Hey, I replied, taking her into my arms. God, you smell amazing. She laughed a little, kissing me. Looks like it hit early. I let out a low growl, holding her tighter. Mind. She leaned into me, rubbing her hands over my chest. All yours. The next few hours we spent in a fit of love and passion, exploring, teasing, and enjoying each other the only way that werewolf mates could. Our wolves connected and bonded deeper, the feeling of our souls becoming one, tying us closer than ever before. The intensity of warmth and desire for each other was beyond words. We both lay there for some time afterward, panting softly as we seemed to be lost in an ever-ending bliss. That was amazing. Amber said after a time of silence. I growled in agreement, pulling her flush against me. I found myself slowly tracing the mark that I had left on her neck, amazed at how quickly the strange lines seemed to be making some sort of crescent pattern. Xavier was quiet and calm. I could feel Jackie's presence as well, as if the two wolves were curled up in the same manner that our bodies were. Amber's wolf was just like her, feisty yet kind, fun and energetic, loyal and passionate. Amber was there right with her. I could sense her presence so easily and excitedly as if it called out to me to seek it and hold it. Our souls were entangled and intertwined in a way that none of us could quite understand. So we lay there and accepted it with open arms. Alex, she said, snuggling even deeper into my chest. I love you too, I said, feeling myself fall asleep. My arms remained around her, keeping her body close and protected. I knew at that moment there was nothing I'd change, and I'd fight off whatever poor soul threatened to break what we had. I found myself at peace for the first time in weeks. The morning was still hours away, and I didn't need to do anything my arms. The thought made me smile as my eyes closed. I slept better that night than I had in a long time. Thanks for reading. Austin and K. Rick Chapter 28 Amber. As I sat down at the table eating my cereal, my thoughts wandered off. The previous night had taken my breath away literally in some cases, and I could feel my bond with Alex had grown even stronger. Jackie was happy and thoroughly satisfied, as she put it. Even though it hurt like hell, being in heat was so worth it. Hey, sweetie, Dad said as he walked into the kitchen. Hey, I smiled at him. He sniffed the air and gave me a pointed look, so he trailed off. What? I asked, confused. He opened his mouth, but Alex ran into the kitchen looking worried. There you are. He breathed a sigh of relief. I chuckled at him. Yeah, here I am. Sorry, my wolf was so worried. And, well, I was too. Why? I asked, turning to face him. We are fully mated now. I'm gonna worry about you even if I don't know where you are. My eyes widened in shock when he said we are fully mated. Alex, I yelled, wanting him to stop. Well, actually, I'm always gonna worry about you. Alex, I yelled. What? He asked. I pointed to my dad, who was standing there drinking his coffee and smirking as he leaned against the countertop. Alex looked over and his eyes went wide and his face paled. He could pass for a ghost because of how pale he was. Oh, hi, sir. Alex stuttered. Hello, Alex, my dad said calmly. But that jerk was still smirking. He was enjoying this too much. Alex said, stepping away from me. Well, it's fun making this awkward, but I have to go clean my guns. You know, the ones with the silver bullets, he said, seriously looking at Alex. I use them on rogues. Just saying. My dad shrugged. I think Alex's face paled even more. My dad gave him a smirk one last time and gave me a wink before walking out of the kitchen with a triumphant smile on his face. Why didn't you tell me he was right there? He groaned, sitting on the chair. I tried. I shrugged. You wouldn't shut up. He groaned again. Now I'm pretty sure he wants to shoot me. Maybe he didn't hear it. I said. Well, it came out more like a question. He gave me a playful glare. Really? I sighed. I was just trying to make things better. He chuckled and pulled my chair closer to him. I tried to not be affected by the way his muscle flexed. Cured. Tried. I know my arms are nice. Right. He said smugly as he flexed. I scoffed. Whatever you say. Babe, you know it's true. He smiled innocently. Whatever tickles your peach. He stuck his tongue out at me before hopping off the chair. Let's go. He commanded, grabbing my hand and pulling me to the doors. Where are we going? I asked. For a walk. I want to show you this field that I found. I nodded and we closed the door and were now making our way into the forest. All of a sudden, we heard a bang and a bullet went into the tree next to us. Alex and I both yelped and quickly turned around to see my dad holding a gun. Sorry, the trigger slipped. He apologized. Ya slipped my ass. Alex growled, pulling me along. Your dad really does want to shoot me. Well, well. You shouldn't have mentioned that we were fully made in front of him. I shrugged. It's your own fault. Yeah. He mumbled. Close your eyes. Alex said, putting his hands over my eyes. I said, almost tripping over a log. Sorry. He chuckled. I bet you are. I growled. Don't growl at me. He teased. Too late. Whatever. We walked for a couple more minutes before I heard the sound of water and I felt us stop. He slowly uncovered my eyes, and when my vision adjusted to the sunlight, I gasped. Oh wow, ow wow. I said. Pretty right. He smiled. It's gorgeous. I yelled excitedly, running to the little stream. It had a small waterfall made from the rocks. Glad you like. He smiled, walking up to me and wrapping his arms around my waist. How did you find this place? I've been here a lot longer than you have, and I've never seen this field before. I said, amazed as I looked around. I felt him shrug. I don't really know. I was walking around and I got lost and I sorta just found it, I guess. I laughed at him. You are such a dork. That may be true, but you love me. Look at that lovely tree. I said, trying to walk away. But of course, he wouldn't let me. He held on to me tighter. Tell me you love me. Fine. I huffed. I love you. What was that, babe? I couldn't quite hear you. He said, cupping his ear. I love you. I mumbled, huh? He asked, smirking. That little. I love you. I playfully growled. He turned me around in his arms and crushed me into a hug. I'll love you to honey buns. He gushed. I cringed at the pet name. I hate that name. And I'm a girl. The girl's right. A deep voice chuckled. Alex turned around and put me behind him. Standing in front of us were the rogues. Unlike our last encounter with the rogues, it was clear that Xavier was backing Alex up with full force. If he wasn't my mate, I may have winced at the sudden wave of power that erupted from him. Yet even that couldn't draw my attention away from the stench that they had wafting around them. I pinched my nose because of the smell. You guys just smell really bad, I said, trying not to breathe too heavily through my mouth. They growled at me and I laughed. They didn't say anything else as they shifted. Well, looks like they want to get right to the chase. I watched as Alex shifted and tackled one. As he was fighting that one, another one lunged at him. I didn't waste any time as I shifted and tackled that one. I heard a howl of pain as Alex bit the rogue's neck before its neck met and it went limp. I turned to the one I had pinned and bit his shoulder. I aimed for the neck, but he was moving around so much. I got his shoulder instead. He pushed me off and was about to jump at me, but Alex tackled it. We both faced the other rogue when he finished killing that one. He growled at us and Alex and I growled back. We were about to run at each other, but before we could, a gray wolf jumped out and snapped its nearly the same manner that Alex had done to the first. Alex growled at it and the newcomer had simply narrowed its eyes. It didn't move to attack us and we didn't want to be the first to attack it. Something was throwing me off. Its scent seemed familiar somehow. All three of us just stood there and watched each other. After what felt like hours, we decided to change back. I came over fully clothed and Alex came out only wearing a pair of shorts. The gray wolf came out and it was a girl. She was gorgeous, despite her ruffled look. Her hair naturally cascaded in dark brown waves, and her eyes seemed to glow sharply. Her wolf still close to the surface. Her facial features were soft yet matured. A hardened look but almost one of caring. Her lightly tanned skin contained what looked to be minor scars here and there, but they seemed to almost complement her toned body that looked lithe and agile. She was the type that men would drop to their knees over. I instantly felt jealous because she was so much prettier than me, and she wouldn't take her eyes off of Alex. I cleared my throat and stood next to him, intertwining our fingers together as I held his hand. I looked up at Alex. Alex looked confused before his eyes widened in sickened disbelief. Hello? Alex, the gorgeous girl said, smirking at his baffled gaze. Who's that? I asked him. My sister. Alex said, shocked. Wait, Keep up with the comments. Love you, my faithful shifters. Ost on chapter 20. My Alex, I stood in absolute shock. It had been years since I last laid eyes on that face. It was almost surreal. You always were the quiet type. Paige smirked. You haven't changed. Much, Amber asked, looking between the two of us. I ignored Amber's comment, a little too swept up in thought about the wolf that was standing in front of me. I hadn't seen her in years, and there she was, standing in a sports bra and running shorts. She was quite different from Amber, but I knew it was her. I could still recognize her rather snarky and cocky grin and the way she held herself so highly. My wolf also recognized her as family, seeing her human from explaining the strange feeling he had when she'd first appeared. And why did she appear right then and there? There clearly weren't any more rogues around, which was a good thing, but my head was still spinning. Why are you here? Was all I could manage. She chuckled. Well, that's an interesting welcome. I haven't seen my only sibling in almost 11 years. And that's all you can ask. Whined Al. I tried instead. Paige shook her head. Let's go somewhere to talk. I don't know if there are any more rogues close by, considering you smell like one. I'm not too sure what that makes you. Xavier commented to himself. I nodded a little. Okay. Follow me. As we walked, Amber pulled me to her, pressing against my side. Your sister, she hissed in my ear. What is she doing here? I just shrugged, putting my arm over her shoulders. Well, it looks like we're about to find out. I won't talk until my mate is by my side, Paige demanded. Adam shook his head. I'd rather not. Your mate is trickier than you are. And that's not a compliment. A compliment is how you take it. Alpha, she sneered. Have you something to say to me? Bitch. Adam growled, his wolf starting to show. Oh, if only you knew. Paige sneered. It would take an alpha more than you to take it out of me. You can take that little idea and shove it straight up his enough. I shouted, losing my patience. To my utmost surprise, they both went silent, though Adam gave me a little bit of a startled look. I think we found that second alpha, Amber muttered. I gently nudged her side with my elbow and looked at Paige. Answer a few of now questions, and I'll let you have to bias by your side. Alex, Adam growled. Can I speak to you in the other room? Now, I sighed, shooting Paige an apologetic look. I stood up and followed Adam into the kitchen. What in the moon goddess's name are you doing? He snarled, glaring at me. I think the term was called bartering. On why, you just dug. He growled, slamming his hand down on the counter in frustration. Are you trying to drive me insane? We both need answers to this mess. I need to know what's happened to her. And you do too. You're going to be the next alpha to this pack. So quit this nonsense. Nonsense. I growled back. She is my sister. I have a damned right to know what's happened to her. And if she's as stubborn as I remember, then I have to give her something in return. His gaze hardened as his eyes flickered with his wolf. Alex, I am trying to be patient with you, but you cannot keep using that tone with me. Xavier didn't seem to like him saying that either. You're not the only one keeping their wolf at bay here. Alpha, I growled out through gritted teeth. Let Tobias go so we can get some information. And if what our pack doctor has been saying about his condition is correct, it could potentially tie into why Xavier was having issues when we fought him. We had learned earlier that Tobias had a strange drug in his system and the doc had believed it had psychological influences. Mind control. Basically, Adam didn't say anything for a little while, the both of us staring each other down. Frankly, I really liked Adam. He was kind, blunt, straightforward, and reasonable about a lot of things. I had nothing but respect for him, but Xavier wasn't a fan of his wolf and their dominance. Being an alpha wolf himself, it was causing issues between us. Fine, he ground out after a while, but if either of them tries anything, it is on you, son in law not. Gee, thanks, Adam. That's fair. I managed. keeping Xavier from snipping at him again. Fucking perfect. Amber. I watched as my dad and Alex walked out of the room, leaving Paige and I in the same room alone together. So, I said, feeling really awkward. So Paige mimicked. How's life? I asked, trying to lose some of the awkward tension. Really? She snorted, crossing her arms. That's all you could think of. I glared at her. Well, sorry for trying to make this situation seem a little less awkward. You are doing a terrible job of this. I clenched my fists together. She is being so snobby and such a freaking smartass too. Shut up. I growled. Oh, is someone getting a little upset? She taunted. I quickly stood up. Shut up before I punch you. You can't. Paige smirked. And why not? I asked, teaming. I bet you could see smoke coming from my ears. They need me. So that means you can't touch me. I growled in defeat and sat back down. So why exactly are you here? I spat. I really don't like her. Not saying anything until I get my mate. Tobias. Back. Not saying anything until I get my mate. Tobias. Back. I mocked in a really annoying high-pitched voice. She growled at me while I smirked. What did you just say? She asked, standing up and making a fist. Nothing, I said innocently. Bullshit. Did you just insult my main, then meme? I fake gasped and held my hand over my chest. I would never. She growled at me and took a step closer. I stood up and did the same. If I could, I would. So Paige started, but I cut her off. You would what? Hurt me? You can't. Why not? She asked, pissed. Well, as you can see, you are in my territory. I pointed out. And my dad is the alpha. And also I'm Alex's mate. You can't touch me. She growled and I growled right back. We turned to see the doorknob turning. So Paige and I rushed back to our seats and sat down. But we still glared at each other while my dad and Alex gave us both strange looks. This is gonna be fun. So what do you think the guys and Paige are talking about? Sierra asked me as we sat in the living room and watched TV. We became closer ever since she and Jack became mates. I guess now since she has a mate, I found it easier to be her friend because she wasn't obsessed with Alex anymore. Thank you, Jack. I don't know. Probably about why Paige is here and how she and Tobias got separated or something. I shrugged, looking at her. Yeah, she said, zoning out. What are you thinking of? I asked. She looked really deep in thought. She shook her head and looked at me. I guess why Paige decided to show up now. I thought about that too. I admitted, looking at her. Really? I mean, she might have had so many other opportunities to look for him. But why did she decide to show up now? You know. I watched as Sierra nodded her head. And it has to be important if she won't talk until she has her mate back. I nodded as well. Tobias kinda gives me the creeps. I guess it's just something about him that freaks me out. Me too. I know I only got a glimpse of him, but just something about him. I feel like his wolf might be a little off too. Dude, I said, laughing. I think he might be a little off. I said, laughing some more. Sierra just stared at me for a second before bursting out laughing. What are you two girls laughing about now? My mom asked, amused, coming down the stairs. Sierra and I stopped laughing and looked at each other. Once we made eye contact, we busted out laughing again. Oh, I give up on you two, my mom said, chuckling a little. I'm going to go make dinner for all of us. I just nodded because I couldn't speak. The door suddenly opened and in came my dad, Jack, and Alex. Sierra and I jumped up and went to our mates. So did you talk to her? Sierra asked. Yep, Jack replied, hugging her. What did you find out? I asked the guys. Well, Alex began, looking down at me. How come that didn't sound good? Love you, my little faithful shifters. Thanks for reading. Austin and K. Rick, Chapter 30, Alex. All right. I started, looking at the two mates in front of me. You have your mate back. Will you answer us now? Tobias looked up at me, growling a little. Paige leaned into him a little, his growling being replaced by a soft purring sound. It was a tad weird seeing them preening each other like a couple of birds while they laced in the cell. The dull bulb flickered every once in a while, making it feel like a great horror movie. Paige sat up a little straighter, still keeping close to her mate. Okay. Shoot. Why are you just now coming back? I asked bluntly. She shrugged. I was looking for Tobias. And when did you two become separated? Adam asked. 2 weeks ago. After our group was taken out by rogues. I was stuck in a hospital for a few days. It took a while for me to pick up his trail again. That's when Tobias spoke up. We were a pack, if you would call it that. A group of wolves that simply traveled because we wanted to see the world. No, we are not rogues. Or most even called us gypsy wolves. I looked at Adam. Gypsy wolves. He nodded, thought very common. But they do exist. They're a pack that follows normal standards but don't have any ranks such as Alpha, Beta, Omega, etc. Instead, they act like normal humans that simply travel the world. Tobias looked back at me when Adam was finished. We always ask permission before entering a territory, or before we stay in it. Most are fine with it as long as we keep to ourselves. But some aren't so considerate. I guessed. He nodded. Sad, but true. Some will even think that we are an insult to werewolves everywhere. Before I met your sister, we had met a pack that had teamed up with a few in the area, and they tried to stop us altogether by not letting us pass. In the end, it went to an extreme and we had to flee before we were wiped out altogether. So why were you here now? Adam asked again. You're lucky to be alive now, and you should be thanking your brother-in-law. If not for him, you'd be dead for harming my daughter. I rolled my eyes as a set of growls started. Paige at Adam for threatening her mate. Jack at Paige for growling at his alpha. And back to Tobias for growling? Oh, never mind. The cycle was a long one. I swear, ties like these will either save you or kill you. Tobias. I snapped, growing a little irritated. Why are you here and why did you attack us? At this, he hung his head. For the first time since he got here, I saw regret and sorrow in his eyes. Something told me he wasn't faking it. But I needed to keep my guard up. Brother-in-law or not. He had harmed my mate. He harmed what is ours. Xavier growled loudly in my head. When I was separated from our group, I found myself badly injured and almost dead. A pack had found me and helped me heal up in just a few short days. The Alpha had found out that I was a gypsy wolf, but didn't hold me against it. I was a little shocked at first but grateful all the same. However, I kept having some nagging doubt in my mind saying that this guy was a little off. It was too late before I realized that he was using me. He had me and many more like me attacking pack lands. He would drug us through our food, causing us to not smell, think, or even hear straight. Then, when we were drugged, he ordered us to attack. All we had was our instinct to obey our alpha. He turned to me. When I shot your mate, I didn't know what I was doing. I was simply shooting. Hell, which, hell. The way I was surprised I hit anything. I growled lowly, trying to keep Xavier calm. Do you know what you're doing here? Our alpha wanted something. I overheard him talking to his beta that he was after something in this pack in general. Probably someone he wants. Do you have any knowledge as to who he wants? Adam asked. He shook his head. I'm lucky I know that much. It was right after lunch. And that means that the drugs would start kicking in. And that's my cue, Paige said when he looked down again. I've been following this pack for a while, knowing that Tobias was here. While I was doing so, I did understand what they want. This, Alpha wants power. He's gone a little wacko upstairs. So how does he plan to get this power? Adam asked. She then looked at me, her face falling a little. He wants Samber as his mate. And with that, Xavier was in control. It took a while to say the least to get me to calm down. Well, Xavier to calm down. Personally, I saw what was going on, and was keeping a level head. Sure, I didn't like the idea of Amber being taken. Hell. I was almost as mad as Xavier. The only reason I wasn't was because I knew she was still safe in the pack house. He was a different story. She wasn't right here to calm him, nor was she in his sights to assure she was safe. Therefore, it made him extremely worried and overprotective. After a few broken jaws and ribs along the group of us, I was finally standing upright and fairly stable in the cell, with Jack and Adam having a firm hand on my shoulders for precaution. Luckily, our bruises would heal before we made it to the house, and our bones a few short moments later. One of the many advantages of being a werewolf. This disadvantage, having a very feral and overprotective side of you, like Xavier. Alex, Jack said hesitantly, do you think you can make it back to the pack house without shifting on us? I growled lowly yes. Everyone let out a small sigh of relief. Amber had better be right inside. If she's not, I can't even predict what Xavier might do. Adam nodded. I promise she will be in there. Now let's go tell the others. And get you to her before I have another broken rib. He growled. I muttered a brief apology. He shook his head and let me up off the couch. We walked back to the pack house, and it took everything I had to not shift. The same sentence kept replaying in my head, making Xavier very pissed. If there is one thing I've learned while being a werewolf, it's that you shouldn't mess with the mate of another, especially if they're an alpha like myself. Don't worry, Jack began, walking next to me. Nothing is going to happen, and nobody is going to hurt your mate. I felt a small growl leave my throat. Jack laughed a little. You think you're bad now. Just wait until you're made alpha. It's worse. He nodded. Much. You're shitting me. Right. Nope. I swear I'll inject silver into me to get him to quiet down. Even if it doesn't work on me, it may work to subdue his savage ass. The minute I stepped through the door, I walked right to Amber and Sierra, making their way to Jack and me. So did you talk to her? Sierra asked. Yep, Jack replied, hugging her. What did you find out? Amber asked. I felt my heart sink at what I was about to tell her. Well, I started, not being able to quite finish. Maybe we should talk about this in the other room, Adam said suggestively. Jack and I nodded, leading the girls into the den. I sat in one of the love seats, pulling Amber down into my lap and holding on to her tightly, burying my face in her neck. I instantly felt Xavier calm down. I never realized how much her scent and touch meant to him until now. Mine, he growled out, low enough for only Amber to hear. Yours, she replied, placing her hand gently on my chest. She then looked up at Adam. What happened? What did they say? I tuned them out when he told her what the pair had told us. I couldn't take listening to it again, so I just focused on holding Amber. By the time Adam had finished, she was curled up against my side, stroking my back reassuringly. Everyone had dispersed during his run, down to go do whatever they do. Adam had left after he finished, giving Amber a brief nod and me a strange look. I could tell something was still eating at him. Amber and I had sat alone in silence for a while, just the two of us in each other's company, which seemed to be the only thing to calm my wolf. I'm not going anywhere, she said quietly. I'm not letting you go anywhere, I replied, kissing the top of her head. I'm sorry about earlier, I heard a voice say. I looked up to see Tobias with Paige in his arms. I looked down at Amber to see her raise an eyebrow. My wolf was irritated, and I wasn't thinking so straight. I'm hoping we can try this again, Paige asked. I nearly fell out of the chair trying to contain my laughter when I saw Amber's expression. One word, priceless. I think so. Yeah, sure. We could do that, she replied. Paige gave another sheepish smile before walking out of the room. Tobias stepped behind her. What happened earlier? I asked. Nothing important. At least, now it isn't. I raised an eyebrow. What? You're a terrible liar. You know that. I asked. What? Nothing happened, she said, her voice pitching a little higher. I laughed. and just held her tighter, nuzzling the mark I left on her neck. The strange lines that looked like a faded tattoo had traced themselves into a crescent moon. The edges were faded and it was fairly lopsided, but the mark itself seemed to tug at something deep within me every time I saw it. It was as if the mark was calling to me, like I had to know it was there no matter what. I was brought out of my tangling thoughts when Amber gave a low growl that stirred something in me. That was kind of hot. "Alex, don't do that." "Do what?" I asked innocently. "This." I nuzzled my mark again. "Yes," she squealed, sitting up. "Gah, damn it. Now I'm all hot and bothered." I laughed. "Hot and bothered? How so?" She turned a tomato red. "Well, 'cause the mark is like an instant turn on kinda thing, and wait. Why am I still talking about this? Because I'm still learning about this whole werewolf thing. And it seems to me that you're my teacher," I reasoned, sealing it with a wink. She scrunched up her face. "Your teacher?" "Yeah," I said with a chuckle. I leaned into her again, whispering in her ear, "You're my hot teacher." "Alex," she yelled, blushing even harder. "Yes, love." "Not cool." "No, it's not cool." She gave me a confused look. "It's hot." Her eyes widened. "You little." If I was little, then you wouldn't have shouted out so loud about how big I was. She let out a playful growl, tackling me onto the couch. "You know what I mean." I laughed, simply putting my hands behind my head. "I'm not sure about that. Would you care to enlighten me?" She rolled her eyes but smiled all the same. "You're crazy, and you love every bit of it." I countered. "That I do." I chuckled, pulling her into my chest. "You know what?" she asked him. "I love you." I smiled, holding her tighter. "I love you too, Amber." We laid there for a while, just enjoying each other's company, and not caring about anything but that moment. I didn't think that I'd ever care for this girl so much, but I did, and boy was I thankful for it. "If you keep doing that, I'm gonna be asleep in no time," Amber muttered. "Doing what?" "Rubbing my back like that. Feels amazing right now." I chuckled, not realizing I had been doing it until she spoke. "You like that, I gently placed a kiss on her forehead. "Good to know. Hey, are you to love? Bird's gonna stay there all night. Or are we gonna eat?" I looked up and saw Jack standing there, trying to look irritated. It was hard since amusement lit up his eyes like a fireworks display. "Don't you have a mate you can bother?" Amber said a little irritably, not moving her head. "Yeah, she sent me to get you to so we can eat." "Do we have to?" She winned. I chuckled, pulling her up into my arms and carrying her bridal style to the dining room. "Come on, we better eat something." "Why?" I gently nipped at the mark on her neck. "It's either we go do something not so relaxing." She quickly jumped out of my arms and darted to the dining room with a squeal. "Coming." I looked at Jack, who was laughing. "So maybe you are little." "Shut up." I growled and chased after my mate. Keep them awesome comments and votes coming. Austin and I love every one of them. Kaid Rick Chapter 31 Amber. Why do guys have to be all perverted and whatnot? I asked Sierra as we were getting our food. I watched as she shrugged. Who knows? I think it's just the male population trying to act cool. Well, it's not really working out," I said, laughing. Sierra and I stopped laughing right when the guys walked in. Jack and Alex gave us weird looks, but Sierra and I giggled as we walked back to the table. "What are you girls laughing at?" Jack asked us right as we got to the doorway. "Oh, nothing, hun," Sierra said with a smile. Alex gave a look and I quickly got out of the kitchen with Sierra in tow. "What we said in the kitchen, the boys can't know," Sierra said sternly. I nodded in agreement. "Right?" I said, lifting up my spoon of mashed potatoes. "What can't we know?" I heard Alex say suddenly. I let out a yelp of surprise, and my hand did a little twitch. I turned around to see my mashed potatoes that were on my spoon had found their way onto Alex's face. Yikes. "Oh my gosh. I am so sorry." I quickly grabbed a napkin from the table and had started wiping the poor spuds off his face. He made a face and gave me a playful growl. Dork. You couldn't have been holding a gun when your hand twitched. My dad said from across the table. Dad Adam. My mom yelled at him and smacked the back of his head. Oh, my dad mumbled, rubbing the back of his head. I'm just saying. Alex took the napkin from my hand and scraped off the rest, all the while sending my dad an arc glare. My dad returned the gesture. Oh, real mature guys, I said, shaking my head. Your dad and Alex should be on TV. Sierra said, laughing. Yeah, they should make a guest appearance on Dumb and Dumber. I said. That was good. Sierra hived, me. Alex and my dad did a fake gasp at me. Did you hear what she said to us? My dad asked my mom. My mom looked at me and gave me a wink before turning back to my dad. No, I didn't hear what she said. PFT whatever. I saw you wink at her. Alex accused. She said we belong in Dumb and Dumber. My dad pouted while giving me a glare. I don't think our sweet little Amber would do that. My mom defended me. See, I'm a good person, I said, taking a bite out of my mashed potatoes. Good person, my ass. Alex mumbled under his breath. If that's the case, then it must be amazing considering how she was going on about your ass earlier. Sierra commented. I glared at her. Traitor. Alex smirked, putting an arm around my shoulder. Well, for the record, you've got an amazing ass as well. I felt myself go 10 shades redder. I take back my apology, I growled, elbowing Alex. He only laughed, tucking into his food so. I said, looking down at my hands as Alex and I were sitting on the bench swing outside so. Alex copied me with a light chuckle. I lightly hit his chest and looked at him. What are they going to do if they get me? They won't. But why me? I groaned, laying my head on his shoulder. You're the daughter and alpha. They want you for power, I suppose. But there are other she-wolves out there. Why can't you just get one of them? They aren't an alpha's daughter, he repeated, grabbing my hand and rubbing his thumb over the back of it. Aren't there other alphas with daughters, though? I asked, looking up at him. He chuckled. You're asking the guy who thought he was human up until this past month. Well, there should be. I huffed. Shouldn't you know that? Alex asked, lifting an eyebrow at me. I trailed off. You don't. Do you? Alex teased. No, I sighed in defeat. But I'm pretty sure there are. I tried to defend myself. I don't know. But even if there are other alpha daughters, there's just something about you that he likes. Alex sighed, holding me tighter. I laughed. There is nothing special about me. I'm a pretty boring person. You aren't boring. Alex laughed and kissed my temple. You're my mate. You have to say that. No, I really don't. You're far too fun to tease. I rolled my eyes. Whatever. But this weird psycho guy doesn't want me. I'll just make his life hell. And that's what I love most about you. Alex said before pulling me into a kiss. Love all of you guys. Aust and chapter 13 Alex. Fall break came and went by faster than I thought was possible. I had really just wanted to say, screw it, with school and spend even more of my time with Amber. Though, I'm nearly positive that if I had done so I would have been given an earful by both of my parents. Then possibly shot by Adam. Yeah, we got along okay at some points. But when it came down to Amber, he went back to his usual scowling self. The guy had some serious mood swings like that. But after all, he's gone and been through and done for his pack. I'd have to say that he has the right to do so. I guess he's the definition of tough love, seeing as how he's still teaching me on how to be an alpha. What surprised me the most was when he walked into our room one night and gave me my new schedule, which was now filled with every class Amber had. I think his mate had talked him into that one. More than likely she pulled the, what would you do if you were in my position, card. Now, what most of us found really odd was the fact that Amber's heat had only lasted that one night. From what I've been told, a female's heat is supposed to last around a week. Typically more if she's an alpha female. Amber had checked with Sylvia, the pack's doctor, on the issue, and she couldn't explain it either. The best guess was that the initial estimate on the time was wrong and we were just a special circumstance. Just another strange thing to add to our already strange situation. Sunday night was ended with a movie and the slight sense of annoyance and dread that we had to get up at the crack of dawn and head off to school in the morning. School. The one word that teaches me only one thing in life, patience. The patience to hold me back from punching that one asshole that's in every class. The patience to withstand shouting at the teacher as they load us with homework. The patience to hold my bladder when I am denied to use the restroom. Yep. Word of the day. People patience. Oh yes, one other thing patience helps me with. The ability to not vomit the moment I hear Sadie's voice call my name as she walks over to me. Yup, that one probably tops all of my other problems. Hell. Amber's standing right there with my arm linked through hers. And she still has the nerve to grope the hell out of my free arm and practically drool all over me. Well, the hell, at least that's what her body movement was like. I had to use every restraint I had within me to not shudder in disgust at her touch. Alex, she sang in a slightly off voice. Off meaning, she sounded like a dying whale. Sadie, I replied coldly. I missed you over break. Where were you? I went to your place, but your parents said you weren't there. I was with Amber. I nearly growled out. God, she's even more annoying than I remember. We're together. Remember. What? You two broke up right before spring break. I thought back a little. Wow, it had really only been a week since we ended that whole Stu-tight argument. Yeah, and we missed days together with our mate because of that. You idiot. Xavier growled. We're back together, aren't we? And we had a whole week together. Are you really gonna dwell on my stupid mistakes? I heard him give a huff before becoming quiet. Well, we're back together, as you can so plainly see. Now if you can excuse us, we have a class to get to. Amber said, practically radiating her anger and irritation at the girl. I wasn't talking to you. Now was I. Sadie snapped. No, I was talking to Alex. Which we should be going to class. No, we're in the same class now, Amber said with a victorious smirk. One of Sadie's wannabe friends stepped up beside her. What? Have you two done it as well? Something in Amber's gaze must have said. Yes, for Sadie's eyes widened. As did her wannabes. You slut. You act, Sadie started to screech. That is, I was cut off from my own retaliation when Amber pushed by me and slammed her fist against the girl's jaw. The girl stumbled back into the lockers before her knees gave way. She was holding her jaw and looked very dazed. My jaw dropped, my jaw as those of the small posse before us. I have waited far too long to do that. She growled and stormed off. I was quick on her heels. Well, that was impressive. I chuckled. I started rubbing her back as we walked and could see the tension ease away from her as I did so. Feel better. Much. Not that I'm complaining, but I could have handled that without having you risk expulsion. It was worth it. She shrugged. Besides, I can fight my own battles. I smiled. Yes, but you don't have to fight them alone when I'm around. You're always around, though. We even have the same classes now. Exactly. She sighed, rolling her eyes, but smiling as we walked to class. Jerk. She teased. Princess. Most guys find that to be a compliment towards a girl. A cat call even. I'm not most guys. Sure, you weren't saying that last night. Do you always have to pull up our sex life to defend yourself? She asked when no one was listening. I shrugged. No, but it helps. Especially when it's such a turn on our sex life is a turn on. She asked, a slightly disgusted look crossing her face. No, but what I had you yelling is. Her face turned at adorable betread. I laughed, drawing a few looks my way. How about you two lovebirds keep it down? Jack said, rolling his eyes. Not our fault Sierra isn't in the same class. Amber said simply. Not my fault you two can't keep each other's hands off of one another. I rolled my eyes. You didn't do something stupid to yours that you're still making up for. He tapped his head. That's why I'm not a dumb ass and damn still smarter than you. Amber laughed as I rolled my eyes. I'll remember that when I'm alpha, and I will be your amazing beta, he said in an as a matter of fact kind of way. He took a seat next to me with a confident smirk. Sure about that. You'd die without me. I stuck my thumb at Amber nonchalantly. Technically, I'd die without her. Fact, you would come begging to me. An alpha doesn't beg, Sierra said as she sat next to him. We all stared at her in shock. Sierra, what are you doing here? Amber asked. She simply shrugged. Our current, they owed me a favor, and I need to keep an eye on my troublesome mate. Good. Keep him off our butts, I said. Oh no, he would only be all over mine, Sierra said with a wink at Jack. Oh good grief, I groaned, looking up as the teacher started talking. Math never was more interesting. Thank you all so much for joining me on this dangerous werewolf journey. I hope you had your hearts pumping and your minds racing. Don't forget to subscribe. Share your thoughts in the comments, and come back for more exciting and dangerous tales. Until next time, stay safe and keep that adventurous spirit alive.